Here's a signal that should get your attention. 70% of small businesses are operating with less than 4 months of cash reserves. That's not a statistic, that's a warning light. Welcome to Small Business Signals. I'm here to help you read the economic weather and prepare your business for whatever's coming. Today we're talking survival. Not growth strategies, not expansion plans, the fundamentals of cash flow management that determine whether your business survives an economic downturn or becomes another cautionary tale. In the next 11 minutes, I'm going to give you a framework, specific numbers, specific tactics, specific conversations to have this week that could mean the difference between weathering the storm and closing your doors. Because here's what most business advice gets wrong. The businesses that survive recessions aren't necessarily the most profitable ones. They're the ones that never run out of cash. Profit is an accounting concept. Cash is oxygen. And right now, a lot of small businesses are breathing thin air without realizing how close they are to altitude sickness. Let's start with the reality on the ground. 32% of small business owners report that rising prices are their single biggest challenge right now. That's not inflation in the abstract. That's your suppliers raising prices, your landlord raising rent, your insurance premiums ticking up while your customers are watching their own budgets. At the same time, borrowing costs remain elevated. The Fed cut rates 3 times in late 25, but we're still nowhere near the cheap money environment of a few years ago. 3% of business owners cite financing as their top problem, and that number understates how many are simply avoiding debt because they can't stomach the terms. Add tariff uncertainty, supply chain unpredictability, and consumer spending that shifts week to week, and you've got an environment where planning feels almost impossible. But here's the thing, you still have to plan. The businesses that freeze up and just hope for the best are the ones that get caught without runway when they need it most. Let me give you the number that should anchor your thinking. 70% of small businesses hold less than 4 months of cash reserves. 4 months. That's your industry benchmark. If you're at or below that number, you're in the majority, but you're also operating without much margin for error. One bad quarter, one major customer who doesn't pay, one unexpected expense, and you're in crisis mode. So here's your first action item. Calculate your runway today. Take your total cash on hand, divide it by your average monthly burn rate, and write down that number. If it's under 4 months, building reserves should be your priority over almost everything else. Not because 4 months is magical, but because it buys you time to react instead of just panic. The businesses that thrive during downturns do one thing consistently. They project their cash flow 3 to 6 months ahead. I know it sounds like homework, but it works. Here's why. Most cash crunches don't appear out of nowhere. They build slowly. A customer pays late, then another. Your inventory costs creep up, and suddenly you're short on payroll day. When you're projecting forward, you see these collisions coming. You can move money around, delay a purchase, or chase an invoice before it becomes an emergency. Speaking of invoices, let's talk about getting paid faster. One of the simplest tactics, according to cash flow experts, is offering a small discount for early payment, something like 2% off if they pay within 10 days. 2% might sound like you're giving away money, but consider, if it turns a 60-day receivable into a 10-day receivable, you just bought yourself 50 days of cash runway. That's worth it. Here's another move. Tighten your payment terms for new customers. If you've been offering net 30, consider net 15 for new accounts until they establish a payment history with you. And when an invoice does go overdue, follow up on day 1. Not day 30. Not when you remember. Day 1. A friendly email or call that says, "Just checking in on this," works wonders. Most late payments are malicious. They're just deprioritized. Your reminder moves your invoice back to the top of someone's pile. Don't feel awkward about it. It's your money. Now let's look at the other side of the equation, your payables. Many suppliers are willing to negotiate longer payment windows, 30 days to 45 or 60 if you simply ask. This isn't about being slow to pay, it's about strategic cash management. The goal is to collect your receivables faster than you pay your payables. That gap is your operating float. Some business owners feel guilty about extending their payables. Don't. Your suppliers would rather have you as a steady customer paying in 45 days than lose you because you went under paying in 30. Here's where a lot of businesses make a critical mistake during downturns. They slash costs indiscriminately. Cut everything. Hope for the best. But research shows that cutting the wrong expenses can actually accelerate decline. Cut your marketing completely? Competitors take your customers. Eliminate training? Your team's skills atrophy. Stop maintaining equipment? You're trading a small cost now for a big cost later. Instead, audit for waste, not value. Cancel that software subscription you haven't logged into in 3 months. Renegotiate your phone plan, your internet, your merchant processing fees. Call every vendor and ask, what can you do on price? You'd be surprised. Many have retention teams authorized to offer discounts you'd never get otherwise. The worst they can say is no. Here's a principle that separates businesses that survive downturns from those that don't. They think in seasons, not emergencies. They know lean times will come, so they build reserves during good times. They know demand will fluctuate, so they maintain flexibility in their cost structure. And here's something crucial that doesn't get talked about enough: your relationship with your banker. The UMB Business Banking Guide says it perfectly: your banker should be one of your most trusted partners. End quote. You don't want to start building that relationship in the middle of a crisis. That's when your options are fewest and your leverage is lowest. So here's your next action item. Schedule a meeting with your business banker this month. Not because you need something, because you want to establish yourself as someone who plans ahead. Walk through some what-if scenarios together. Your banker can help you model what happens if revenue drops 10% or expenses rise 15%. That kind of planning builds confidence. And if things do get tight later, you've already got a relationship. Your banker knows you, knows your business, knows you're someone who takes responsibility seriously. That matters when you need flexibility. Now, I want to address something that often goes unsaid in these conversations. Running a small business is personal. A revenue dip doesn't feel like a data point. It feels existential. When you've poured years into building something, when your employees depend on you, when your family's security is on the line, cash flow isn't just numbers on a spreadsheet, it's everything. I want to acknowledge that weight. The strategies we're talking about today are practical, but implementing them takes emotional energy you might not feel like you have right now. So start small. Pick one thing from this episode. Calculate your runway. Send one early payment offer. Make one call to a vendor. Momentum builds from small wins. Let me give you the complete framework in a nutshell. First, know your number. Calculate your runway cash on hand divided by monthly burn. Write it down. Look at it weekly. Second, see the future. Build a 3 to 6 month cash flow projection. Update it monthly. Spot the collisions before they become crashes. Third, get paid faster. Offer early payment discounts. Tighten terms for new customers. Follow up on day one when invoices go past due. Your cash is sitting in someone else's account until you claim it. Fourth, stretch your payables. Negotiate longer payment windows with suppliers. Create float between when you collect and when you pay. Fifth, cut waste, not value. Audit subscriptions. Renegotiate contracts. Call every vendor about pricing. Protect the spending that drives revenue. Eliminate what doesn't. Sixth, build your banker relationship now before you need it. A 20-minute coffee meeting today could mean crucial flexibility 6 months from now. If you're finding this useful, by the way, consider subscribing. We put out new episodes every week focused on exactly these kinds of signals, the practical stuff that actually moves the needle for small businesses. Now, before we wrap up, I want to touch on the bigger picture. There's a debate in business circles about whether you should hunker down during uncertainty or invest while competitors pull back. Some advisors say build massive reserves even at the expense of growth. Others say smart investment during downturns creates lasting competitive advantage. Who's right? Honestly, it depends on your situation. But here's what I'd say. You can't invest from a position of desperation. Cash reserves buy you the ability to make strategic choices instead of survival choices. Get your fundamentals solid first. Build that 4-month cushion. Then, if opportunities arise, if a competitor closes, if a great employee becomes available, if equipment goes on deep discount, you're positioned to act. The businesses that emerge stronger from downturns are the ones that had the discipline to prepare and the liquidity to execute when others couldn't. Remember, 70% of small businesses have less than 4 months of reserves. If you build a 6-month cushion, you're already in a different competitive position entirely. So that's your signal for today. Cash flow isn't just a financial metric, it's your business's capacity to survive surprises, seize opportunities, and sleep at night. One quick reminder: this content is for educational purposes only and isn't financial advice. Your situation is unique, so work with a qualified advisor before making significant decisions. Until next time, keep reading the signals, keep watching your numbers, and keep building a business that can weather whatever comes. This is Small Business Signals. Take care of yourself out there.